Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Keith.
You're not going to introduce me?
I am also your host, Cynthia. I am both Keith and Cynthia today.
Keith and Cynthia. Hi, everybody. Happy, Wednesday?
Yes.
God.
Well, but what if they're not listening to it on Wednesday?
Well, you better be listening to it when it drops on Wednesday. Today.
In the next
right.
whatever time.
This week has felt like it's dragged on like
forever.
For a long time. I don't know why.
I don't either.
I've had lots of coffee this morning. And I don't know. I feel like
good.
I feel also the reason why my week has felt so long is because I didn't really have a weekend. Like, I've worked every day since last Wednesday, actually. So I just feel like my week has been dragging on, like, little by little.
Oh, wow.
It's weird. No, I haven't been working like crazy hours, but just.
Did you work today?
Yeah, a little bit in the morning. But I worked from home this morning, but still, it's just, I don't know. It feels like my week has been dragging. But nonetheless, I'm here.
Yes, we're so glad you're here.
Uh-huh. Are you really? That didn't seem like you were.
No, Cynthia, you're a great co-host. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I knew you missed me. But I did want to let you know.
Do not put words in my mouth. Did I say that I miss you? No, I just said
I knew you missed me.
It's nice to work with you. That is all. Please do not put any other implications into my statements.
Last week we talked about Lovers and Friends Fest.
Yeah.
And I waited. Pre-sale went on Thursday, 10 a.m. I was at my computer at 9 a.m. I was in that line.
Yeah.
And you know how if you wait, like when you are waiting, you're in line for your Coachella ticket or whatever festival ticket, and you see that the little man running?
Yeah.
Mine took so long, but I was able to get my ticket. My friend and I, so I'm a...
What?
Yes.
It's real?
It's real.
No.
It's confirmed.
I'm so disappointed.
No,
I wanted it to not be real. I wanted it to be a joke. I wanted it so badly to
What? No.
I didn't want you to actually lose money. Like,
you wanted me to get
anyone.
Scammed.
No, I didn't want anyone to get scammed. Getting scammed, no. Getting scammed implies losing money. I wanted it to be a joke. I wanted them to like make everybody wait in line to buy the pre-sales and then be like, oh, by the way, this isn't actually really happening. Ha ha, gotcha.
A lot of people were upset because, like I said, I was in line probably like 9:30. Like I was at my computer out on the site and everything. And some people were on the site at 9 a.m. and said that they waited 40 minutes. Once it hit, so like by 10:40, they were still in line. And once they got to the page, everything was sold out. Like the pre-sale was sold out. But then the tickets went live again the following day, Friday morning. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's to the general public and tickets are going to be more expensive. But a lot of people were upset saying, how is it that I was on my computer at 9 a.m. and I waited over 40 minutes past 10 and I still didn't get a ticket? So, and I was kind of confused too because like I said, I logged on at 9:30. My friend was driving, pulled over. She logged on like at 9:55 and she actually got her ticket before me. So I'm not really sure.
Oh.
I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know if there's a difference between if you try to go on your laptop
probably
or if
like the ping on the website from the IP address, the closer to 10 o'clock it was, like it moved them.
Maybe, right?
Like they were in the queue sooner rather than later. Like it's not like it ordered people on the website queue from when they arrived there. Mm-hmm. in length of time. They ordered it in like at what time in a different order. So the first person who was there was the last person in the queue, perhaps.
That probably makes sense. Cause she texted me, she waited in line like 20 minutes. I waited in 30 and she got her ticket before mine. I was like, what? I'm like, I've been waiting here, but that actually can make sense. But you know how like nerve wracking it is just seeing that man, the little guy running. And I'm just like, hurry up. Like, I want to get my ticket. But
I've never had to purchase tickets for something that was so popular it sold out in a day.
Coachella?
I don't even bother buying those.
How did you go with that one year?
The year that I went was the first year that they did 2 weekends and neither weekend sold out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. So you didn't have to wait in.
I honestly, like, if I could help it, I would never go to a sold out show in my life.
Really? Why?
I mean, sold out implies that
a lot of people.
Just a lot of people. I don't like a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, but I am super excited and I know it's like 100% confirmed. This is real. This is not, I'm not going to get, this isn't another Fire Festival. And if it is, well, you can catch me in the next Netflix documentary, Lovers and Friends Being Scammed. But no, I'm actually really excited. I haven't been to a festival in about 3 years. And I'm actually a fan of this festival over Coachella because it's not as, it's the first year they're ever doing it. This is definitely more my style of music. There isn't going to be, compared to the size of Coachella, this is a relatively smaller festival. There's not going to be that many. I think the venue is at a state school's like field because when I searched it, have you heard of Cal State Dominguez Hills in LA area?
No, I have not.
Well, that's how tiny the like state school. It's a pretty small state school here in California. And it's like, it looks like it's in a field, like a baseball field kind of. Cause I don't know. That's where my map pointed me to. I could be completely wrong. So, but I'm really excited and I can't wait to like talk about it in May and to tell you my experience and if I got scammed, if people actually showed up to their sets, but people will. I mean, Megan Thee Stallion confirmed. Usher, like I said, all these people like posted on their stories saying that they will be there. So I just needed to tell you because I didn't know if like
you just wanted to rub it in my face.
I did.
She has this giant smug smile right now.
I know because I was like, I don't know. I was running a risk, but you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least based on the number of people who were actually like, I don't know, promoting it, and the type of people that they are, like, there's no way that they'd be able to escape after taking a bunch of people's money, like,
right.
So it had to be legit in some sense, or they'd have to give people their money back if it wasn't. Like,
or maybe they just like made up the list and then they saw people were buying. They're like, oh wait, now we actually have to like book these people. Like, let's contact their management teams. So yeah,
that's possible too.
Lovers and Friends Fest there will be an update from me in May, so stay tuned for that.
There won't be from me. I'm not going.
No, but you'll be here to listen and maybe laugh with me and cry with me if I do get scammed. You're like, I'm not crying. You're going to be laughing at me.
I would not laugh at you.
I would honestly laugh.
Okay, so moving on to something. What's or the things that we wanted to talk about today? What's our juicy gossip this week? So
juicy gossip, our music news for today. So if you guys haven't heard, they are now releasing, or they have started the Whitney Houston hologram tour, which is titled An Evening with Whitney, the Whitney Houston hologram tour, which is actually already started. What's today, the 26th? It happened yesterday, the first day of tour, February 25th, all the way through April 3rd of this year. And
they should have called it the Whitney Houston Graham Tour.
Houston Graham. But people aren't as clever with titles like you are. Like, so, but I have like a lot of interesting points to bring out about the situation, which we'll get into in just a few short moments.
Yeah.
But this tour was created in partnership with the Singer's Estate by Bass Hologram. And Bass Hologram has a proven track record of bringing legacy acts back to life through digital appearances with successful concert tours of Roy Orbison, which I think they were rock stars, Buddy Holly, and then opera diva Maria Callas. And this tour will feature a digital, pretty much, and the same thing like what they they did with Tupac at Coachella a few years back.
Didn't they do Nate Dogg too?
They did. It's
I thought
becoming
I was
a
there
thing
for
now.
that.
Yeah. So Base Hologram will be featuring a digital reincarnation of Whitney Houston and a live Broadway performance with dancers and live musicians will also be part of the show. And her holographic, I guess, is a doppelganger, right? That's what we're calling it. Which, if you haven't seen, if you Google it, it's kind of creepy because it looks so real. Like, when I think of hologram, I literally think of like rays shooting down at the center stage and like, I don't know. I didn't think holographic images were that advanced.
Yeah.
Because it's actually pretty chilling how realistic Whitney Houston looked from the first night of her tour, which again happened yesterday.
Yeah, she was stunning. It was great. I'm just kidding. I haven't seen it at all.
Well, I didn't see the show. I just saw like pictures of the show.
Right.
And some of the songs that her holographic, I guess, doppelganger is going to be singing, and some of her best songs.
Singing in quotations.
Right.
Really,
Singing,
it's just like
they're playing
a vocal track.
Right.
Yeah, that's played along with accompaniment.
So if you go to her concert, you can expect to hear I Will Always Love You, How Will I Know, Greatest Love of All, and I Want to Dance with Somebody. I love that song.
I Want to Dance with Somebody?
Huh?
I didn't know Whitney Houston did I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Yeah, she did. I love that
song. It's a great song.
I know it is. And so the first show premiered last night. 27 shows are expected to happen throughout Europe. The very first one happened in England. And the reviews, some of the critics who, the music critics who attended the show, some were positive, some were negative. Some of the fans' reactions were not as positive as I would have expected, because when I think of Whitney Houston, I assume that many people were fans of her music. And yeah, I mean, like I said, her legacy lives on and her music will always live on. But there's a reason why so many people were, I guess, weirded out by this whole situation. So one UK music critic suggested that the show was, or as I quote, crass exploitation. And just like horror films, he says, bringing the dead back to life never works. It's probably best to let sleeping stars lie.
I mean,
this brings
just
like a
karaoke show. Like,
I mean,
also Whitney Houston's dead. She does not have a say in what is done with her intellectual property.
So that's
it's no longer her intellectual property. It's somebody else's.
That's why a lot of people kind of feel like this is almost a money grab from Base Hologram and her estate, because.
So then don't buy the tickets. If people want to buy the tickets, that's their own prerogative. I don't understand what the problem is here.
Her tour is set to come to North America in fall of 2020. So I don't know how well this holographic tour will be received here. Cause it is like a new wave happening right now, like all these like hologram tours.
Yeah, I'm sure that they'll happen.
It's kind of weird. I mean, also her death hasn't been that long ago either.
No,
like,
that
it hasn't been that long, so that's why
it's almost like if they did one with Amy Winehouse, like
right.
Yeah, it just seems a little weird.
So it's just like it brings a lot of questions of ethics are coming up. Like, is this right? How we just discussed, like, is it okay for deceased artists to perform? Like, who's calling the shots? And like I said, we have to consider too that Whitney Houston, she hasn't passed that long ago, so it's like. I feel, especially for those who were close to her family and friends, like we're just reopening a wound almost. I don't know. That was my take on it when I was reading some of the negative reviews. Cause again, when I first was reading the reviews, I was like, why are people not really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Being more appreciative?
I guess appreciative, enjoying it, right? Yeah. Like I thought this was going to be well received, and it's not. So, but then once I started like kind of looking at their perspective and really thinking like, why do they feel this way? I'm like, well, it makes sense. Like again, she didn't pass that long ago, and who's really calling the shots? Like who's saying this is okay, we should do it, and who's profiting from these tours?
I mean, those are all. The elements that you should look at when you make any purchasing decision.
Right, right.
Like it's not like you should, I know it seems kind of crazy, but you should think about that whenever you go to like buy something from Amazon. Like,
really anything, right.
Anything. In this global economy, you should consider every purchase decision as kind of as making a political statement.
Absolutely true. And another critic that brought something up also is that this is also, if this is okay to, like, is it okay to do this with the holographic tours? Is it similar or different to pushing out unreleased music from deceased artists like Mac Miller, right? Like his producer released all these songs after his death. So it's like, is that kind of the same situation? Is that any different?
I mean, if you're asking me, I don't think, I mean, they're basically the same thing. I really don't understand why there's much of a discussion going on about this in the first place. If you don't like the tickets, don't buy it. It's not like the company that owns the rights to those songs didn't acquire them through some shady means most of the time.
Right.
Most of the time they paid accordingly to acquire those rights, and they are allowed to do with that intellectual property what it is that they would like. Now, where I would say that perhaps the moral or ethical gray area is in like the portrayal or the image of that person. Like, do they own her image enough to put it out on stage as a hologram? Like, that's the portion where I would say there's maybe some like legal or ethical recourse to talk about this and wonder about whether or not it's okay. But like ultimately, if her family wanted this to not happen, then her family should buy the intellectual property and prevent it from not happening. And if she didn't give her intellectual property to her family upon her death, then like there's nothing that we can do about that. You know, she's gone. That person is dead. Same with Mac Miller. Like they're dead. They're not here to have a say. They're not here to be honored. Like, you know, there's no point in like trying to make it more sacred than it actually is. We're all going to die. So like, you know, someone's going to benefit and someone's going to be hurt from everybody's death. So why are we like overly complaining about the fact that someone's profiting off of someone else's intellectual property? Like, it doesn't happen every day.
Right. No, yeah. That's why I just wanted to bring it up, because that's what all these like critic reviews were saying. So I was a little shocked. I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be like amazing raving reviews with like, you know, the live Broadway show and dancers, but each to their own. This is for sure one of the more controversial hologram tours that Base Hologram has produced. And on that note, we're going to take our first quick break. And when we come back, Keith, you're going to share one of your top picks for this week.
I am?
You are.
Okay.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hello, and welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. Normally, I would do my best to wait until last minute and for Cynthia to bring us in, but she just discovered she has a crack on her phone screen, so I felt bad for her.
I'm so upset right now.
I know, yeah.
I literally just realized during the commercial break, I looked down at my phone, I'm like, I just cracked my phone, but I don't even remember dropping it. I mean, luckily I have a screen protector, but still, that's just annoying for me to see.
You're probably in the gym doing some deadlifts, and then you just didn't even realize it. You just slammed
I don't
like
know.
200 pounds.
400 actually.
I'd be surprised if you could actually lift too.
200 on like a good day.
On a good day?
Yeah, and I've been consistent. Honestly, at the moment, I've lost a lot of strength because I'm in training and cert right now to become a bar instructor. So I've had to kind of put strength training to the side and focus on bar. But once I get my strength back up, maybe. But like I said, on a good day, I have to like be pumped, feel good.
Yeah.
Eat right, all that good stuff.
Listen to, what is it?
Pop Smoke.
Pop Smoke, thank you.
Pop Smoke, yeah. I highly recommend.
Okay. So we're going to talk about some music this week. We both picked, I picked 3 records and Cynthia picked 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Which
honestly,
is standard.
It's been pretty difficult for me because like there hasn't been a lot of new good music released. And especially for me, like I feel you choose more alternative picks, whereas mine are more R&B. and which I think is a good mix for this podcast because we kind of give the people a little bit of everything. But there hasn't been any good R&B or hip hop music out. So I'm like, well, I don't want to recommend anything that I'm not actually listening to.
Right.
And my pick is actually something totally out of what I normally listen to, which I'll share
surprised.
later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll get to that eventually. So the record that we're going to talk about first is the new Tame Impala record, Slow Rush, which a lot of people were talking about when it first came out, just because everybody seems to have a thing for Tame Impala.
I think it's because he headlined Coachella last year. Like, he's now labeled as an official, like, festival headliner. He has that status. So, that's the only
Tame
reason.
Impala is pretty much just Kevin Parker.
Right. And
he's the main songwriter.
I liked it, though. It was vibey, cool. It's definitely in the name Slow.
Yeah.
So I was able to enjoy it. However, I will say it's not really negative. There's just a personal opinion. I couldn't listen to the whole project because it was too slow. And I wasn't in the right state of mind to listen to it, meaning like I wasn't in the mood to listen to slow music at the moment. I mean, I was washing dishes when I was listening to this album. But that's not to say.
Maybe you just ran out of dishes first.
That could be, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't have any more dishes to wash, so. But no, I like enjoyed it. But I want to hear exactly why you wanted to share it with us for today's episode. Why was this one of your topics?
Well, just because it's popular and everybody's talking about it. So I figured it would be relevant.
Yeah, I think it's pretty relevant.
Most of the time when I pick things, it's like, hey, have you guys heard of this really obscure band that only has like 200,000 listens on Spotify, which one of the bands on here does literally have that. So I think that's funny. But now Slow Rush is Tame Impala's fourth studio record. They released it in February, so it came out really recently. I guess it took like almost 5 years in total to write. I guess they started writing it immediately after their last record, which was Currents, which came out in 2015 and was an absolutely amazing, like it was kind of a masterpiece. Like there's just track after track on that record is just so good. I think like half of that record's on my workout playlist. Like,
oh, really? Okay.
It's really, really, really good. Just like solid, like dancey, like not quite as like psychedelic as they used to be. The funny thing about Tame Impala, and if you're like into music memes, you've seen that meme going around of like Tame Impala fans before 2015, Tame Impala fans after 2015.
Wait, I didn't see that meme.
Well, before 2015, it's like a bunch of dudes with beards who like look like they're into psych rock. And then after 2015, it's a picture of like a group of gal pals drinking wine. Because like when 2015 hit and Currents came out, they're like the demographic that enjoyed their music like rapidly changed because their first two, I think Inner Speaker and I can't remember the title of the other one off the top of my head right now, but Lonerism, Inner Speaker and Lonerism are these like psychedelic rock records that are just really, really good and trippy and interesting. And then you get Currents, which is like psychedelic dance rock is how I would kind of like classify it. It's got like an 8-minute long track on there called Let It Happen that I absolutely love. I think it's probably one of my favorite tracks. One of my favorite songs. No, this is on the record before Slow Rush. Okay. And then after Currents, they came out with Slow Rush, which is like nowhere near as good as Currents and nowhere near as good as their previous stuff. I actually really didn't like this record. In comparison to the previous work that Kevin Parker and Tame Impala has done, this record feels like way too poppy. It feels boring and uninspired, in my opinion. Like if you listened to Currents and Inner Speaker and Lonerism, you would probably agree. And I think that a lot of people who have heard those first two records, Lonerism and Inner Speaker, would probably agree with me as well. Because like generally part of the reason that people are even talking about Tame Impala now is because of the success of Currents, and now it'll be partially because of the popular success of Slow Rush. And Slow Rush is designed to ride that wave that they got from headlining festivals.
That makes sense.
So
maybe, I mean, I have nothing to compare it to because I didn't listen to Currents or their previous music. So I guess for you've listened to their old stuff. So you're comparing.
I got into them when Lorism came out. That was the first record I ever listened to.
So I can see how you're probably like not as impressed. Out of the, I don't know. Like this Slow Rush didn't really like do much for me.
No, it's not super memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's slow. I only got through like 5 songs just because I was like, okay, I'm getting kind of like tired of it. I don't know. It could have been I wasn't in the mood to listen to slow music. I don't know.
The singles on it aren't bad. I can't remember which ones those were, but like if you want to listen to a couple of the tracks, I would recommend the tracks that came out as singles. I think one came out in like November of last year, and one came out in like January, and I think there was one more that came out maybe in December. I'm not totally sure. Either way, check out the singles that were on the record. I think those were good, but otherwise, this is pretty negligible as far as the record is concerned. I hope that this is kind of like a sign that like Tame Impala is maybe shifting towards something different, and this is just kind of like a transitional record that like isn't necessarily as good as their next one would be because they'll get it right next time. They're kind of like refining their recipe for music right now, and then their next record will be a more refined version of this. And I could see that being super enjoyable. So I'm hopeful for the future for them, but overall I think that you could miss out on this. You're not missing out on this record by not listening to it. So yeah, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10.
I can't even rate it because I didn't even finish listening to it. So I'm like, I can't rate it.
Incomplete.
Right. Yeah. There we go.
Yep.
Incomplete. Let's talk about your next pick because this one to me also was. Oh, it was only similar to Tame Impala because they were both kind of slow. Right. But I think I might have.
And airy, I guess. Would
right.
Be
exactly.
Kind of like atmospheric would be a good way to describe it.
But I want. So let's talk about your second pick here.
Okay. So the next pick that I've got for this week, music that I was listening to, and I think this record came out super recently, is a band called Loving. And the record title is If I Am Only My Thoughts, which I love because I'm super into philosophy. So it's very existential. They don't really have like a bio on the band. They're like on their Spotify account or their Spotify profile, it just says like Loving like is good or something like that, or always or something. Like it's very brief on their about. So they're kind of mysterious and like that's kind of a little punk, which I thought was funny. I had to do some digging to find out that it's a bunch of dudes who met. They're from Canada and they met while they were planting trees in the forest during summer. So I think
is this the one that only has like 200,000 listeners?
Yeah. So I think that they were like part of like the Canada Conservation Corps or something like that. And then they were like, "What if we started a band?" Because people in Canada sound like British people now. And so this is their debut LP, which I think is pretty cool. LP record project, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
They had previously released like a collection of demos as an EP, which is pretty cool. The point of their songs and their whole album as a whole was kind of like to capture the sounds and feelings of being in like the Pacific Northwest of Canada. So like cold and sunny with like lots of trees. So yeah. What did you think of this record? Did you listen to the whole thing?
I listened to about halfway because same thing. I just kind of got the same, I guess, tone from Tame Impala. So it's kind of a little redundant for me to keep listening to kind of the same tune, if you will. Again, that's just a personal opinion. So I had to cut it short also with this one. I actually think out of your 3 picks, the next album that we'll talk about in the next segment is actually my favorite pick out of the 3 that you chose. So also, If I Am Only My Thoughts by Loving didn't do too much to me. It wasn't memorable for me. Well, how about for you compared to Tame Impala? How was this record for you?
Well, I mean, I liked this one a lot because I thought it was at least kind of interesting. It feels like a more optimistic Wilco is the way that I would describe it. And you're not familiar with the band Wilco, are you? I don't want to be presumptuous.
I feel like I've heard. I feel like you might have mentioned it.
I probably have mentioned it. Yeah. So Wilco is this kind of like alternative rock, country, southern rock singer songwriter. There are a lot of genres. Anyway, I really like them. if you like Wilco, you'll probably like Loving. They've got kind of like that similar, like, I don't know, sad guy vibe, but like sad adult vibe, not sad boy vibe. And the song titles are creative, the lyrics are creative, the vocals are solid, the instrumentation like really lends itself to kind of like putting you in a specific headspace. I really enjoyed the songs like the title track, If I Am Only My Thoughts, is good. Nihilist, Kite Flyer, and Stranger to Yourself, I really, really enjoyed. If you are interested in like going back and revisiting this, Cynthia, I would highly recommend listening to it in reverse order if possible. So listen.
Why is that?
Well, because the last few tracks are much more like upbeat and enjoyable.
Baby, because I started from top
side.
to bottom.
Yeah,
there was one song that like had no lyrics to it, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
and I think that's where I paused it because I was like, okay, like.
I'm just done.
I'm just done, right? Like, just for a minute. I'm like, I gotta take a quick break.
Yeah. And speaking of quick breaks, we're also going to take a quick break. So we'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey guys, and welcome back to GSMC Music Podcast. Let's get straight into Keith's third pick here. So
wait, straight into it?
Let's get straight into it.
No funny banter?
No funny banter because it's all about business right now.
Absolutely no discussion of anything else between you and I prior to my statement of my next record that I listened to this week.
No. Do you have another statement? Yeah, anything else to say?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that we're currently talking about something other than the record. So, technically, we didn't go straight to it.
Now let's get straight to it.
Right now?
Right now. This one, why is it that all of your album picks have the most interesting album titles? The artist names are super, like, I'm seriously just like, is this why?
I'm an edgelord, honestly.
Is this why you, like, are able to plan or make up our titles so well because of these band names? Like,
I have no idea.
These are just like a collection of words put together, and it's like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Well, what was the one that I did? Like, we talked about Blood Ritual, secret history of humankind. Like, that's so weird. Anyway, the band for this one is Cobra Man. On Spotify, they also have like under 1 million listens, which is awesome. So if you're into underground obscure stuff, like these guys are for you. Record title is Toxic Planet. This is their second studio album. Cobra Man is a 2-person project, and the quote they give about themselves is Los Angeles power disco duo scoring electro punk skate film soundtracks. So what that means is that these two got their start writing soundtracks for skateboarding videos, which I think is actually kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So their first record was pretty much exclusively for like some skateboarding collective, and I think this record is also like inspired by or partially focused on a bunch of skateboarding stuff. So that's cool.
That is. So
yeah.
This one made me giggle because, again, I was washing dishes and my brother was walking by and Living in Hell, which is one of the popular tracks in the album, was playing. Because I was playing it off my laptop like out loud because I'm like, let me just like vibe to it a little bit. My brother walks by and he goes, what is this Napoleon Dynamite? And I'm not going to say like the last one. He's like,
expletive.
Yeah. But like he didn't say like rude. He was just like, again, knowing how the type of music I typically listen to, he was just kind of caught off guard a little bit. He's like, this is like Napoleon, like, yeah. He's like, what is this Napoleon Dynamite?
You're like, my loser co-host makes me listen to this stuff.
No, but he was actually sitting there kind of like vibing it to me, and he's like, it was just like funny to see his reaction.
Yeah.
But it definitely, when he mentioned that, that's why I put LOL in the
show notes.
In the show notes. So I'm like, I literally laughed out loud because I'm like, it actually reminds me, you know that, have you seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Of course.
The dancing scene, I think it's like he's at the talent show.
Yeah,
and he's, for like, literally that's exactly what Living in Hell, that's the exact same moment I pictured him.
Yeah.
It gave me a lot of 80s vibes.
Yeah. The whole record kind of felt like Wang Chung's Living in LA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like with the keyboard, and I think also the female vocalist in the background. I'm not gonna like try and hit those like high pitched notes because you already know me. My voice is, what do you call like the lower voice?
Alto.
An alto. I'm an alto. What's the high voice?
Soprano.
I have an alto voice. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Alto.
Well, you would say like my vocal range is an alto.
My vocal range is an alto, and I can't go to a soprano.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me knowing
You're
my
so
music
smart.
terminology. But I actually I enjoyed it. Like, I think my favorite song off this album was "Everybody Party Tonight" because I mean it's in the title of the song.
Yeah.
I picture this song playing in a movie scene. 80s theme, like in a roller rink, skater.
It's super great.
Right. I really liked it. And Bad Feeling 2 was another good one. That song I could see like playing in Guitar Hero. So
it's funny. We liked all the same songs off of this record.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at us go. Wow. Yeah. So out of all your music picks, this one was my favorite one just because it was like different.
Yeah.
80s vibe, Napoleon Dynamite. That made me crack up. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, and my brother did too. My brother was able to enjoy a couple of the songs. That's good. He was just caught off guard because, like, him knowing me, he's like, you're usually playing like, you know, Drake or Summer Walker or some other R&B, right? And do you have any other final statements to wrap up this before we get straight into my pick of the week?
No, I really enjoyed this record. I highly recommend it. What was it? Cobra Man, Toxic Planet is the band and record title. So check those out. It's pretty cool. So what did you listen to this week?
So I listened to this album twice, front and back, this morning, twice. What? And there was like 17.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, this record is 50 minutes long.
Right.
And like 20 minutes into it, I was like, oh my God, when is this going to be over?
What? You didn't like it?
Okay, so what's funny is when you sent me this record first, I was like, who is Kaytranada? This is not, I'm just not digging this. And then I looked at his Spotify, and I was like, oh my gosh, Kaytranada is that guy.
What guy?
The previous record that he came out with is called 99.9%.
Yes.
And it is incredible.
Yeah.
I love 99.9%. Did not love this one.
Really? Okay, so let's talk about that because for those of you who don't know, I literally just discovered this producer this morning.
It wasn't bad. It just I wasn't kind of like how you weren't feeling slow rush.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So Kaytranada, you guys, he is a Montreal-based producer. He's produced for some big-time artists like Chance the Rapper, Alicia Keys, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar.
Snow-Op Dog.
Snow-Op Dog?
Snow-Op.
Who says that?
I do.
That's not how you say Snoop Dogg. Uncle Snoop?
Kendrick Lamar.
Oh my God. I don't know what language you're speaking right now. Back to Kaytranada.
Chance the Rapper.
Oh my God. Rapper. So Kaytranada, he emerged in the music scene in the early 2000s. How do you say it? 2010s? 2010s?
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, anyways. So ever since he blessed the world with the record you just mentioned, which is his first debut album, 99.9% in 2016, he's been a highly requested producer, and
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And he got a lot of pretty much fame off that record. I was able to listen to a couple tracks in 99.9% because I listened to Bubba, which is the name of the
most recent
album,
release,
electronic album that we're discussing today, Bubba. 99.9% was released in 2016, just so we don't confuse you guys. And actually his first debut album, 99.9%, won that year's Polaris Music Prize. So he actually was recognized for his work in 99.9%. But let's get back to Bubba because I don't want to keep confusing them and going back and forth.
Definitely listen to 99.9%, but for the purposes of our discussion, we are talking about Bubba by
just
Kid
because
Renata.
he just released this,
Yes.
and it's the newest record.
Yeah.
I just want to start off with the album cover because it's creepy and I like it.
Cool, yeah.
With the ice blue eyes, two pupils. I don't know. It caught my attention. I think that's actually why I clicked on, when I was going through Apple Music.
Yeah.
I clicked on that page or his little picture because I was like, who is this guy with creepy eyes?
Yeah.
But no, like I said, it's very different to what I normally listen to. But why I gravitated a lot towards this record is because there were a lot of R&B artists that were featured.
A lot of really interesting features. Yeah.
Yeah, like his guest list on there. And that's actually what a lot of critics were saying, that his features on there were great. Fire features like Masego. We need to talk about him in a future podcast because I'm obsessed with Masego. Sir, Kali Uchis, Tinashe, and Pharrell Williams, just to name a few of my favorite features on Bubba. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to something that's funny, this morning when I was looking at the show notes, I was going through my email, and I got an email about a GQ article where they interviewed Kid Renata about how he got all of the people. I didn't read
really?
it, but it's an article about how he got all of those features on his record.
It's always kind of interesting to read those, how artists collab, what's the behind the scenes of how they actually get to working together.
Yeah. So check that out if you follow GQ.
I like
There's
GQ.
an article in there. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I think I like this so much because it's slightly different to what I normally listen to, and it's like I said, R&B artist, but with an electronic dance element, instrumental twist, which was really nice. I literally loved this album from front to back. I was surprised. I was actually surprised I liked it this much. Some of my favorite tracks were To the Music featuring Iman Omari, Go DJ featuring Sir, 10% featuring Kali Uchis, Vex O featuring Gold Link, Ari Pensmith, and 8-9 Fly. So it was actually pretty hard for me. That was already a lot I mentioned.
I think I liked 8-9 Fly. That was one that I may have enjoyed. So I definitely made it through the whole record.
Yeah.
But
so what was it for you that didn't really? What was it for you that you're just no?
Oh, I felt like it kind of it didn't feel focused. He kind of went all over the place stylistically, which is funny because you say in the notes that you really liked that.
And what we mean by his range and everything, I thought it was flawless. It's crazy how we both interpret music so differently. But for me, I really liked how you said it's all over the place. But for me, I liked all that inclusivity.
Yeah.
For instance,
well, something I don't like that. It's just that it. Anyway, I don't need to defend myself.
No. I get what you're saying.
Inclusivity. It's just musically it.
No. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I like that there was a touch of cumbia in midsection featuring Pharrell Williams, and cumbia is a type of Latin dance. And then there's also a touch of Afro-Caribbean sound with the vocalist and Vex O, and that one's one of my favorite tracks on this record.
Yeah, I heard that sound a couple times on the record.
Just it's very slightly, not too much.
It is tasteful. I will give him that.
Yeah.
The whole thing is very tasteful.
And I like how it's almost he uses these features and their vocals as an extra layer to his music. Their vocals aren't overpowering the instruments and all the beats in the background.
The other stuff that he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just adds an extra texture to the music, which I was able to appreciate. So I loved it. I'm so surprised I'm rating this a 9.
You're
9
gonna
out
give
of
this
10.
a 9?
Yes,
Yeah.
like I
Wow.
really liked it. I really liked it. So
I definitely enjoyed it. It was just too long, honestly.
you think so?
Around like minute 30, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. And then there's still 20 minutes left. Like, it was just too much for me. I don't like records that are that long. Like, I want like something a little bit more brief. Like, if this was only even just a 40-minute record, I would have been happy.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, because sometimes too, like, I'll just look at like how long it is. I'm like, oh my God, like, why is this project so long? Because it's 51 minutes.
Like when I sent you that, or you looked at the track lengths on the metal record that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh my God. I was like
12-minute long tracks.
Right. I was like, yeah, I can totally see how it kind of like tunes you out, because obviously if it's too long, like I'm the same way. I'm not going to want to like listen to the whole thing. But I thought it was like a very cohesive project. I loved it. Highly recommend Bubba by K Tronada.
I would recommend it as well, but I would also recommend his first record.
99.9%. Yeah, I actually would too. So K Tronada's on the come up. Like, I'm sure, like I said, he's barely taking off. This is barely his second studio album. So we'll see in the future years what he has to offer to the music industry.
Yeah. So I think that about covers it for today. We talked about the new Tame Impala. We talked about If I Am Only My Thoughts by Loving. We talked about Toxic Planet by Cobra Man. And we talked about Bubba by K Tronada. Overall, I think we would both say that we recommend listening to every record we talked about today.
Yeah.
It just depended on what vibe you're feeling. So we actually were a little bit closer on our like genre picks
today, yeah.
than we
Without
normally
meaning
are.
to. Without meaning to.
Because like Bubba definitely has like a nice kind of like, I don't know, like a mood that it's going for. And like all 4 of the records that we picked all felt very like moody.
Moody, right.
But like all kind of on a similar spectrum of like, if you like this type of music, like you might be able to get into any of these records.
Yeah.
So.
Like I was able to get into at least, like in your picks, like 1 to 3 songs. Like I was able to get into it. But by far, my favorite pick is the one that I obviously picked.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Well, K Tronada is good.
But I liked Toxic Planet. Like I said, of your picks, I like the 80s vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Well, why don't you guys listen and then let us know in the comments what you think, even though we still don't know how to read them. But we'll figure it out. And then when we do, we'll be super happy that we have a ton of comments.
Yes.
So give us a like, subscribe.
Share with your friends, your auntie, your cousins, your uncle, your boyfriend, your stepdad, your coworker, your dog.
Your cat.
Am I missing anyone else?
Your fish.
Hey, right. Your horse.
Turtle.
All of that.
Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Did I say leave us a review already?
No, but do that.
Leave us a review of 5 stars. 5 stars review. We would love that. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks again for listening.
Yes, have a great week, you guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.